birthday interview. What is your greatest memory of all time? It's a deep one.
Everything involving Kelly.
Time we slept in a Walmart parking lot?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Actually happened.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good Lord. Ow. 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 Oh, God.
Trying to get your air out.
Or like, oh my God. Oh my God. It hurts so bad. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Casey. Key change. Happy birthday to you.
We're very excited to partner with On for this great event. If for some of you who don't know who On is a Swiss brand built in the Swiss Alps, and they bring an amazing asset to running and to apparel. They have some amazing shoes. They're launching their Cloud Flows. Alex, their tech rep, is back in the back today.
He's
So
waving,
yeah,
wave Alex.
exactly.
Hey. There you go.
So if you have any other questions on, want to know some more about the brand and the shoes, you're more than welcome to head back there after the talk and to get a little bit more information from them. So tonight we have three amazing guests, three very unique people who are different in all ways of running as possible. So we're very excited to have them on our panel. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we'll get the discussion from there. So to kick it off, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Tucker, and I'd love to hear about your backstory and what you bring to the table.
It was in like 1980 I started running a marathon, which is pretty cool too. Because everybody back in the 80s, that was like, nobody ran marathons, nobody wanted to do one. So I did like 11 of them in 4 years, and 3 ultra marathons, including this thing in California called the quadruple dipsy and stuff. And then I got bitten by the triathlon bug. And for me, the love of running and swimming and biking keeps me going. I also have one other issue as a problem. My wife right now is #1 in the United States for women over 65 in triathlon. So we're training a fair amount.
I'm Mary Arnold. I'm on the branding consumer engagement side for Jackrabbit. I see a lot of familiar faces here. When I'm not in stores or traveling around the country, I'm world ranked at the 100-mile distance. I have a 100-mile race this Saturday. People ask all the time, how do you do this? How do you make it work? And the answer is, I just kept trying stuff till I found something that worked, honestly. Interesting fact that most people don't know, 15 years ago when I started running, I was 200 pounds and could barely make it down the block. I didn't have any formal training. And my idea of exercise for, cross-training at that point was drinking 12 beers a night. So thankfully we're not doing that anymore. And I've learned a lot along the way, and I'm happy to pass along what I've learned. It's a little different, it's a little unorthodox. I think Dr. Tucker's medical advice might be a little more sane. But when you're really deep down in it and you just need to find the motivation to keep going, I think I have a pretty good beat on that.
Great.
And my name is Kelly Roberts, and I blog at the blog Run Selfie Repeat. I was never athletic growing up. I'm the person that would sprain my ankle to get out of running in PE. But I lost my brother in 2009, and I gained a lot of weight, and at over 200 pounds, I decided I wanted to get my life back. So I didn't run, but I slaved away at the gym and hated every single second of it, and I ate ate nothing but boring food and lost the weight. And then I graduated. I got my undergraduate in theater. And going to school for theater is kind of like going to Hogwarts. It's cool to tell people, but like no one cares. They're like, what are you gonna do? So I moved home with my parents and kind of just sat and felt sorry for myself and I was confused and I was sad. And then one day I woke up and I felt like I needed to move and it was Thanksgiving, but the gym was closed. So I said, I'm gonna go for a run. So I put my shoes on and I took off and got to my mailbox and was gonna die. But for some reason, suffering felt better than going back and getting into bed, so I kept going. And 2 months later, I ran a half marathon, and then a couple months later, I ran my first full marathon, and it was horrible. Super duper painful, but it helped me get the courage to move to New York. And a couple months later, I ran a half marathon because I was about to break up with the guy I was seeing and I was feeling sad, and I took selfies with hot guys behind me to make myself laugh.
And a celebrity was born.
And now I'm a professional athlete. No, I'm not. But I wanted to create a platform for new runners who thought it felt impossible but still did it because it helped them get through their day. And there's something empowering about putting one foot in front of the other. As cheesy as it sounds, like for some of us, it's like the only thing we can do to get through the hardships. So that's my shtick.
Awesome. Well, so as you can see, everyone's pretty unique and they all have their very different backstories. So tonight we really wanted to talk about the aspects of how to really finish a marathon mentally and to use that brain to get across that finish line. So today, the first talking point that we're going to touch on is the routine. And kind of the routine that you set up for you mentally to get there and through your training. So, Dr. Tucker, if you want to start talking about some routine topics.
You bet. As you all know, your adrenaline levels are important. Your adrenaline levels are really important if you are going to run fast. You need a lot of it. If you're going to run a marathon, you don't need a lot of adrenaline. You need to be calm, cool, and relaxed.
To echo Dr. Tucker's comments, nothing new on race day. It should feel like the most boring, typical, normal Saturday. Now it's tough because you may have to get up an hour earlier to get to the Staten Island ferry or to get to the bus, or if you're at one of the Disney marathons, and I'm just going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't done a Disney race, you're going to be very, very far away from the start. You're going to have to walk in the dark and think, why didn't I bring a flashlight? So there are things that are going to upset your routine, but as normal as you can make it, as calm, as steady, as even, eat the same foods, make sure your gear is tested, and understand what things could come up, because if you can troubleshoot those ahead of time, you'll be in a better position.
Do we have any first-time marathoners for New York? Okay.
Hey!
Very exciting. I think the most important thing is to know that you're going to be very scared, and you're going to feel really panicky. I just did Chicago last 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Oh my god, it feels like yesterday. I went for a BQ attempt, so I spent entire 6 months trying to shave 28 minutes off my marathon time. So that was a big chunk of my life where I didn't see any of my friends. Or I just kicked my butt to try to make this thing happen. So the day before, I hadn't been that scared since the day before my first marathon. I cried at pasta dinner. I was a mess. I think the best thing you can do is to know that you're probably going to be scared and just to acknowledge it. And that's why being prepared and having a routine is so important, because those things are done. I forgot Body Glide. I forgot all these things. And I was tweeting at 5 in the morning, anybody staying at the Westin with Body Glide? And luckily someone was like, me! And I was like, meet me in the lobby.
So what I said about the phone may not apply.
Little things that you can do to make your race day go as smooth as possible are really, really important. Be prepared. I'm the queen of getting somewhere and being like, I forgot gels. That's why these things are very important.
Pack your race bag ahead of time.
Way ahead of time.
Pack it ahead of time. Lay
Make a
your
list.
kid out the night before.
Check it twice.
Yep.
That's awesome. So kind of going off of that and talking a little bit more about, obviously we're putting in the miles. You guys have races that you're using to train up to these key A races. So I'd like to continue the conversation talking about how to mentally prepare for these races that are coming up and use them to your advantage for that A race. So Dr. Tucker?
Rarely does a person's physical self give out. I mean, sometimes you get a cramp, sometimes a knee, whatever. But most of the time, what gives out is there. You're going to go, and you're going to go, and then you're going to go, oh God, I can't do this. 21 miles, 22 miles, if you really run well. If somebody says to me, oh, I had the best time doing that marathon. I looked at him and said, you didn't run hard enough. You shouldn't say that. You're just doing a walk in the park. That's not running a marathon.
I think that's great, and I also would like to echo Dr. Tucker's sentiment of you'll pass out before you die, which is sort of like one of those ultra things, like, oh, you'll pass out before you die, it'll be fine. And I realized 2 people are laughing and then 70 are looking horrified. But in all honesty, what he's saying is really true. Practice how you want to finish, and one of the best ways to do that is to do a little mini slice down at the end of your long run. So you have your long run pace, whatever that is. In the last 2 miles or 3 miles, practice taking a little bit of time off that pace. So for example, if you're a 10-minute miler and that's your goal pace for marathon, spend the last 2 to 3 miles slicing down a little bit, 10 seconds per mile, 15 seconds per mile, 20 seconds per mile, and then really push hard for that last half a mile. You'll finish strong and you'll feel more confident that your body can respond, because that's one of the things that people think, oh, I'm never going to be able to kick across the finish line, or I'm just so tired. From a metabolic standpoint, your fast twitch when you're running a marathon is still more accessible than your slow twitch, because you haven't burned it out, you haven't been using it. So if you've got a little more fast twitch again and you train with it, you'll be in good shape.
Yes to both of those things. I think the thing that helped me the most going into Chicago was I worked with a sports psychologist, and he worked with me a lot on doubt. It's hard to hit your halfway point and think, okay, I have another half to go, and I have to get faster. So in those moments when you start to fog out and you start to think, how am I going to do this? We still have so much longer to go. Telling yourself, like, my only goal is to cross that finish line knowing that I gave everything I had, whatever that is. It doesn't, time goals for me, I think, are kind of tricky, because for your first marathon, I think your first goal should be to finish with a big giant smile on your face, knowing that you did one of the hardest things in the whole entire universe. But in every single one of those moments where you start to be like, can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. I feel tired. My legs hurt. I still have so much longer to go. Tell yourself, no regrets, no excuses. I can do this. And then pick a point on the race and go forward.